Hi, I'm Laura Morris, and this is my video series called What the Feng Shui, where you ask the Feng Shui question and I get you the answer. I will discuss a specific question that is common and maybe not so common in Feng Shui and the metaphysical practices, but I will be having one or a different guest each episode and a different expert guest. This week, we are going to be asking the question, what is the Bagua? So we keep it simple and straightforward, and we get right to the heart of the question. And my guest this week is architect and fellow Feng Shui practitioner and friend, Anjie Cho. She's also the author of 108 Ways to Create Holistic Spaces. And welcome, Anjie.
Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Hi, it's so nice to see you.
I know, I'm glad you're here. This is great. Thank you for being my first guest in this series. So I thought this is a great idea just to sort of let viewers and people ask really simple questions and get really straightforward answers without like a lot of stuff. So we're going to get right to it. But before we do get to it, I want to talk a bit about your podcast, which is awesome. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, actually, Laura was a guest on the podcast recently. The podcast is actually very similar to this series, but there's no video, so you can't see our lovely faces, but you can hear about Feng Shui topics. And I think Laura and I both like to approach Feng Shui from a simpler viewpoint, not to make it too confusing, but really make it easy for people who want to put it in practice. And so I just talk to different people and give Feng Shui information. And I also have a mini series within the podcast called Astrology and Feng Shui, where I talk to different astrologers each month and they talk about what's happening that month. And we connect that with Feng Shui. So it's really fun.
Yeah. It's a great podcast. It really is. And I'm going to link to it in the show notes and in the description below the video. Okay. So as I mentioned in this episode, we are asking, what is the Bagua? And it sounds like a really simple question, but Anjie, as you know, it's not necessarily an easy one and can be quite complex. So what I thought we could do is just really start by talking about the essentials and the basics, and maybe asking you, when you're asked, like, what is the Bagua? What are some things you'd need to know or would like to bring up, basically?
Well, okay, so the Bagua.
I know, it's a big question.
Yeah, well, not a lot of people know what the Bagua is, but it's the Feng Shui map. So it's a conceptual map that we use in Feng Shui to define 9 areas of your life based on the floor plan of your home. But it's a concept, so it can grow and shrink. The Bagua can expand over the whole lot of your space. It could just be laid on top of your house or your apartment floor plan. You can keep getting smaller and apply it to your bedroom, for instance, or to your desk, or to your face, or we can expand out to the country, to the universe. So it's really a concept, and it's a 3x3 grid, and we use it to define 9 different areas of your life.
And one thing would you say, and this is something that, this question comes up a lot. I mean, everywhere on my Facebook group, everywhere, people want to know. It's like this magical, mysterious thing, and everybody wants to know about it, and everyone wants to know how they can use it, like, right away today, right? Because the concept is pretty cool. I mean, the idea that you can put this grid on your home and activate really specific things in your life, that's a pretty fantastic thing. But one thing, in these sort of essential basics that you need to know, which I find I have to explain, is there are different approaches to the Bagua, correct?
Yes, there are. Well, there's different schools, and Laura and I practice BTB Feng Shui. So the way that we use the Bagua map is that we orient the Bagua map based on the mouth of Qi, which is usually the entry to your home.
Right, exactly. So yeah, what we'll discuss today is going to be specifically that Western, as it's often called, the Western Bagua, and even more specifically, approaching it from our black sect training and our tradition. So, and as you mentioned, yeah, it's how you lay it versus how you would use something, for example, compass, when you lay the Bagua according to the directions. So just to be clear on that, this is how we're going to talk about it today. And when we talk a little bit, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper, and we're actually going to talk a bit more about these 9 areas. So just because we're just going to this question, we're going to dive right in, and with the caveat that the Bagua is a very layered and complex system, grid, cosmological way of looking at spaces, faces, lots, like you mentioned. What are the nine areas of the Bagua? Test time. Just kidding.
Well, so in our tradition in BTB, we've always been taught to actually go through the Bagua in a specific order called the 9-star path. So I'll start with that, and we start with the area that relates to the number 3. So because 3 is new beginnings, so that's one area. It's new beginnings. It's family. It's related to spring and young wood. Mm-hmm. And do you have anything to add to that?
No, you're right. No, I'm just kidding. No, exactly. The idea of, yes, young wood. And then if you took it further and looked at the trigram, it would be thunder, right? So, because all of the one thing about the Bagua is really, it always comes back to the I Ching and the trigrams, which is one very more complex way of looking at it, but it's still a really interesting layer. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so, it's related to... also the spring. Did I say spring?
Yeah, you did. Yeah. So springtime, new growth. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so if we move along the map to the next area, that would be the wealth area. That's everyone's favorite, right?
It sure is. Yeah. Wealth and romance. Those are the biggies.
So the wealth area, which is related to abundance, wealth, prosperity, and it's related to yin wood, and it's actually related to the color purple. And we can move on to the center area, which is health, or we call it the Tai Chi. So it's health, and it's related to the earth element. It's the center of the Bagua, and it's related to earthy colors like yellow and orange.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the, as you said, the unifying center of the Bagua, where it actually, whatever happens in that, let's say, in a home or whatever, it can actually touches upon all of the other guas. So it's very influential.
Yes, it touches all the other guas, so it can affect every area of your life and your home. And alternatively, all the areas all around can affect your health, your center, which is, it's physical health, but it's also overall well-being.
Exactly. Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
So the next area is the benefactors, helpful people, and travel area. It's related to the color gray. It's related to yang metal, which is like a sword, very strong metal. Mm-hmm. And it's doesn't have a season either, actually.
No, it's like it's one of these between, right? The betweens. And the metal, helpful people, and the trigram is heaven, so it connects to that higher realm too. Yeah.
And it's so fun because you can, and I know Laura and I are just doing a brief overview, but you can go so far as to connect it to your numerology. For instance, my numerology is connected to the benefactors area because I'm a 6.
Yeah. There's the whole other, and we've been taught, even when our teachers tell us about it, I mean, getting an answer like this and getting really to the heart of the question can be really challenging, because with a subject like the Bagua, it has so many layers. But hey, you got to start somewhere, and this is one step in terms of people's learnings and wanting to go a little bit deeper, like you say.
Yeah, because they also relate to organs, and they can go really far.
Yeah.
To animals, to organs. So the next area is related to the number 7. It's the completion area. It's completion in children, and it's related to the color white. It's related to yin metal, which is like delicate metal, like shiny jewelry that's been refined, like this was. And it's related to joy and autumn. The next area is the knowledge, self-cultivation area. It's related to the color blue, like dark blue. Mm-hmm. It's yang earth, think of like a big mountain, and it's related to the number 8, and it's a good area to activate if you want to really cultivate your spiritual path or cultivate your skills.
Yeah, great. And then that brings us up to 9.
Which is recognition, fame, passion, reputation. It's related to the color red. It's fire. It's the summer, which makes sense, right? And it's a great area to activate if you really need to be seen in the world, or you want to promote something, or if you're being overlooked at work, or if you want to find a relationship and you never seem to meet anyone. So that's a great area to work on.
Yeah, getting visible and being seen. Yeah.
Yeah. Or to inspire more passion and have more inspiration in your life.
Yeah. Perfect. And
then go back to 1, because remember, everyone remembers we started at 3. So 1 is career. It's about your path in life. It's related to the color black. It's related to the element of water. And it's also related to the winter. So I think this is starting to make sense for everyone, right? The seasons
the pattern. The
element.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it is cold and still and quiet. It's very yin, right? That's like all yin. Like fire is there. When you get a little bit deeper, you understand that these lesser graders or yin yang versions of each of the elements. And yeah, water is this cold, quiet in many ways. But then as we study further, you can even realize that sometimes water can be have a duality to it. And so it can be movement and opportunities and things flowing to you, but also have this depth and breadth of knowledge or wisdom with this gua. So yes.
And Corey, your numerology is water, right? One water. It is.
Yeah, I'm a 1 water. Yeah.
Okay. And then the last gua that we have is everyone's second favorite. Yeah. It's a marriage, relationship, partnership area, and it's pink, and it's related to yin earth, like soft earth, like sand, and it's a great area to work on if you're looking for any kind of partnership. It can be a business partnership, it could be romantic partnership. It also relates to self-care and love, and also your mother too.
Yeah, that's important. There's that mother symbol, which again is another layer that we didn't talk about, right? It was just the family, second son, first son. Those are all these other layers you can have in the Bagua. And in this case, it would be mother, as Chen, or the helpful people in opposition, is father in heaven. So earth, heaven, earth, mother, father. This is why the Bagua is so cool. Like there's so many layers to it, the way you can look at it and use it. So awesome. Okay, so those are the 9 areas. Perfect. And we'll have a graphic and we'll have a blog post that can show people so they can see visuals, because visuals are awesome. Okay, so last question I'm going to ask you before we wrap up is, okay, if someone came to you and go, okay, I really want to start using the Bagua today, what's an easy way I can just do it today without having, I don't know, like expert level knowledge of Feng Shui?
The way that I approach it for someone who just wants to put some things into practice, I always say start with your bedroom. So first of all, the bedroom is really simple. Usually it's pretty rectangular, regular in shape. And it's a small space. You can see everything. It's easier to draw a floor plan of that. So instead of trying to apply it to your whole home, I always say start with the bedroom. And also the bedroom represents you. So you're there for sleeping, hopefully for 8 hours or more a night. And you spend a lot of passive time there. And the energy around you, you're really susceptible to the energies around you. So it's actually really effective. And also in Buddhism and in BTB Feng Shui, it's all about starting with yourself first and then moving out. So even if I was helping you, if you're working with a consultant and not trying to do it on your own, I would still recommend that you start with the bedroom. So you would stand in your doorway looking into the room, and then you can use a Bagua map that Laura is going to provide, and you stand with looking in. So basically the corner to your far left would be the wealth area. The corner to the far right would be the relationship area. And then you can kind of lay everything out if you divide the room into a 3x3 grid. And that's one suggestion. And the second layer of that would be Don't try to fix all the areas at once. Our teachers have always said it's not about fixing everything. Nothing can be perfect. And in fact, when you adjust every area, then things become almost too perfect. And in the I Ching, it's all about it. The I Ching is a book of changes. So when everything is so good, you know the next place to go is down. You're at the apex of it. So, and there's another layer too. It's like, why overwhelm yourself? No one needs all 9 areas. I mean, I'm sure there might be somebody, but work on what you can work with, which is maybe 1 or 3 areas that really, honestly, sincerely needs help, and work on those areas with sincerity.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. Like, that is absolutely what I tell people, and there is this feeling that, oh my gosh, I have the power to do all these things, and I'm worried that my place isn't perfect, and then there's all these things that need to be changed. But really, when you drill down, you should be focusing on 1, maybe 2 guas at the most, and also start looking and getting the sense when you really start to practice and start reading up more, and getting into it a little bit more, how those guas are connected. And actually, when you sit there and you say, I need to change all these things in my life, really, by changing 1 or 2, it actually it's all sort of interconnected anyway, right? All these aspects of your life are connected, and you can look at every gua and kind of tie in a part of your life to it. So that's perfect. Awesome. Yeah. And I'll have a blog in my blog post that's attached, and that'll be in the show notes. It'll give you a guide on how to lay it down a little bit more, but that's perfect. I think that's great. Thank you, Angie. Thank you so much. That was great. We got right to it. We covered a lot in a very short amount of time, which is fantastic, which is the idea behind this video series. And as I mentioned, Angie's podcast will be linked in the show notes. There'll be a blog post that's linked in the show notes below. And next episode, we're going to be talking about the question we're going to ask is, what is geopathic stress? So thank you, Angie, and thanks everyone for watching. Bye.